The shuttle doors opened with a hiss, and Deho stepped into the massive corridor of the Galactic Council station. He had to tilt his head back to see the ceiling, which seemed impossibly far away. Everything here was built for giants, not for humans. The walls stretched upward like the inside of a cathedral, and the doorways were tall enough to fit 3 men standing on each other's shoulders. Behind him, Hana and Jiwoo followed closely, their eyes wide as they took in their surroundings. This was humanity's first official visit to the Council, and everything felt designed to make them feel small. Which, Deho thought grimly, was probably the point. A towering alien approached them, its body covered in thick, dark scales that clicked together as it moved. It had 4 arms and stood at least 4 meters tall. When it looked down at the human delegation, its eyes reflected something that looked like amusement. "You are the humans?" the alien asked, its voice rumbling like thunder in a cave. "Follow me. The Council is waiting." They walked through corridors that seemed endless. Everywhere they looked, aliens of different species moved about their business. Most of them were massive. Some had multiple legs, others floated on energy fields, and a few were so large they had to duck through doorways meant for giants. The humans passed by unnoticed, like children in a world built for adults. The council chamber was even more impressive. It was a circular room, with hundreds of seats arranged in rising tiers, each one occupied by a different species. At the center was a small platform where petitioners could address the council. Deho and his team made their way to it, feeling the weight of countless alien eyes upon them. A being made entirely of crystal chimed like breaking glass when it spoke. "State your purpose, humans of Earth." Deho stepped forward. "We come seeking membership in the Galactic Council. Earth has achieved faster than light travel. We wish to join the community of spacefaring civilizations and establish trade agreements." The chamber erupted in sounds that might have been laughter. The crystal being chimed again, but this time it sounded mocking. "You wish to join the council? You are barely taller than children. Your planet is on the edge of the galaxy, far from any important systems. What could you possibly offer?" Hana stepped forward, her voice steady despite the intimidating surroundings. "We offer our knowledge, our culture, and our willingness to learn. Earth may be far from the center, but we have developed unique technologies and perspectives." A massive insect-like creature chittered from one of the upper tiers. "Unique technologies? Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are basic. You have nothing we need." Several other council members made sounds of agreement. Jiwoo activated a holographic display, showing images of Earth's achievements. "We have survived and thrived on a planet with extreme weather, dangerous predators, and limited resources. We have created art, music, and literature across hundreds of cultures. We believe diversity brings strength." The Velcrosian representative, a heavily muscled humanoid with gray skin and glowing red eyes, stood from his seat. "Diversity?" His voice boomed across the chamber. "We have thousands of species in this council. What makes you think you are special? You are small, weak, and from a nothing planet. The council has no interest in adding another insignificant species to our ranks." The crystal being chimed again. "The council votes on the human petition for membership." Lights appeared above each seat, and one by one, they turned red. Not a single vote in humanity's favor. "The petition is denied," the crystal being announced. "However, we grant you provisional observer status. You may remain on the station and observe council proceedings, but you have no voting rights and no access to restricted areas or advanced technology." Deho bowed slightly. "We thank the council for this opportunity. We will prove our worth." "Sin Sid. Obi-Wan." Deho bowed slightly. "Sin Sid." The Velcrosian laughed, a harsh barking sound. The humans were escorted to their assigned quarters in the lowest level of the station. The rooms were small, cramped, and clearly designed for species that the council considered unimportant. The ceiling was barely high enough for them to stand upright. and the furniture was designed for beings with different body shapes. Well, that went about as badly as it could have, Jiwoo said, dropping her bag on the floor. Hana was already setting up her equipment, her face focused and calm. They underestimate us. That's actually useful. Daeho nodded, looking at the data feeds from the council chambers. They see us as weak because we're small. They judge our entire civilization based on our physical size. Over the next few weeks, the humans attended council sessions whenever they were allowed. They sat in the observer section, taking notes and learning. Most of the aliens ignored them completely. Some would point and make comments that were clearly jokes at humanity's expense. One day, after a particularly long session, Hana was reviewing her notes in one of the station's public areas. A Crethan official approached her, its massive insect body towering over her seated form. It reached out with one of its sharp limbs and knocked her data tablet to the floor. "Move, small one," it chittered. "You are in my way." Hana looked up at the creature calmly. She reached down, picked up her tablet, and stood. Even standing, the top of her head barely reached the creature's midsection. "I was here first," she said quietly. "There is plenty of room for both of us." The Crethan leaned down, bringing its face close to hers. Its mandibles clicked threateningly. "Are you challenging me, human? Do you not know your place?" Hana did not move. Instead, she activated her tablet and began scanning the Crethan with her scientific instruments. Her eyes moved across the display, and a small smile appeared on her face. "Interesting," she said, her voice still calm. "Your exoskeleton shows signs of calcium deficiency. The stress fractures along your primary load-bearing segments suggest you spend too much time in low gravity. Your respiratory efficiency is down by at least 15% based on your breathing rate and the coloration of your internal tissues visible through your thorax plates." The Crethan stepped back, clearly surprised. "You also have an infestation of parasites in your fourth and fifth limb joints," Hana continued, making notes on her tablet. "They are probably causing you discomfort, which might explain your aggressive behavior. I recommend medical treatment." Other aliens in the area had stopped to watch. The Crethan made an angry chittering sound and walked away quickly. Jiwoo, who had been watching from nearby, came over. "That was either very brave or very stupid," Hana smiled. "They think we are weak, but they forget that small species survive by being smart, by noticing things, and by knowing their enemies better than their enemies know themselves." Daeho joined them, having witnessed the entire exchange. "The council thinks we will give up and go home. They think we are too small to matter, but they are making a mistake. They are showing us everything about themselves while learning nothing about us." That night, in their cramped quarters, the three humans reviewed everything they had learned. They noted the political alliances, the military capabilities, the economic relationships, and the weaknesses of each species. "We are observers," Daeho said. "So let us observe. Let us learn everything." Outside their window, the massive station continued its orbit around the distant star, and somewhere in the darkness beyond, Earth waited. The alarm bells rang through the council station, their sound echoing off the massive walls. Daeho was in the middle of reviewing trade reports when Jiwoo burst into their quarters. "Another attack," she said breathlessly. "The third one this week. The pirates hit a Velcrosian cargo fleet near the Omega sector." Daeho stood quickly. "How bad?" 12 ships destroyed. The cargo was worth millions of credits. "The council is calling an emergency session." The council chamber was in chaos when they arrived. Representatives from dozens of species were shouting at each other in languages that the translation devices struggled to keep up with. The crystal being at the center was chiming loudly, trying to restore order. "Silence," it commanded. "We must address this crisis systematically." The Velcrosian general, Karvoth, stood and slammed his fist on his desk. "Systematically? While you talk, our ships burn. These pirates are making fools of us. We need military action, not more discussion." a floating energy being pulsed with angry colors. The Luminarch patrol fleets have engaged the pirates 4 times. Each time, they disappear into the asteroid fields before we can destroy them. They know our tactics. Then change your tactics, a voice suggested from the upper tiers. We have tried everything, General Carvoth growled. They are like ghosts. They strike and vanish. Our sensors cannot track them through the interference in those regions. Deho watched and listened. He saw the pattern that the council members could not see, or perhaps did not want to see. Each species was protecting its own interests. The Velcrosians wanted military glory. The Luminarchs wanted to protect their trade routes. The Crethans wanted compensation for their losses. Nobody was working together. After hours of arguing, Deho raised his hand. It took several minutes before anyone noticed the small human in the observer section. Yes? The crystal being chimed, sounding annoyed. What does the human want? We would like to offer assistance, Deho said calmly. The chamber fell silent for a moment, then erupted in laughter. General Carvoth's barking laugh was the loudest. You? Help us? The Velcrosian could barely speak through his amusement. What could you possibly do that our fleets cannot? We have experience with this kind of warfare, Deho replied. On Earth, we call it insurgency, or guerrilla warfare. We have fought these kinds of battles for thousands of years. A Luminarch counselor named Thelvaris, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. Its crystalline body reflected light in curious patterns. Explain. The pirates are not trying to win a direct battle, Deho said. They are trying to make you waste resources, to create fear, and to profit from chaos. They use hit-and-run tactics, because they know you have superior firepower. So they avoid direct confrontation. We know this already, General Carvoth snapped. Tell us something useful, or be silent. The solution is not more firepower, Deho continued. It is better intelligence and better tactics. You need to think like the pirates, predict their movements, and set traps, the crystal being chimed thoughtfully. And you can do this? We can try, Deho said. We have one ship, the Resilience, currently docked at this station. Let us join your defensive fleet. If we fail, you lose nothing. If we succeed, everyone benefits. The council debated for another hour. Finally, with great reluctance, and mostly to stop the arguing, they agreed. One human ship would be allowed to join the defensive operations. Most council members saw it as a joke, something to laugh about later. Commander Taemin received the orders with a tight smile. He was a compact man with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor that came from years of military service. His crew of 40 humans was small compared to the massive alien warships, but they were well trained. Sujin, the tactical officer, spread out the maps of the pirate attacks on the bridge display. Look at the pattern, she said. Every attack happens near asteroid fields or nebula clouds, places with lots of sensor interference. Taemin nodded. They need to hide, so they pick places where our sensors do not work well. Byung-ho, the chief engineer, pointed at the star charts. But there are only so many places like that along the trade routes. If we eliminate the locations where they have already struck, and the ones too far from their probable base, we get maybe 5 or 6 possible locations for their next attack, Sujin finished. For 3 days, the Resilience moved quietly through space, monitoring the predicted locations. The alien fleets continued their loud, obvious patrols, but the human ship stayed dark, its power signature minimal, watching and waiting. On the 4th day, Sujin's instruments picked up something. Contact. Multiple ships entering the Gamma asteroid field. Their signature matches the pirate fleet. Taemin did not hesitate. Send the alert to the council fleet. Give them our coordinates. Byung-ho. How long until they arrive? 20 minutes at best speed, the engineer replied. Too long. The pirates will strike and run in 10 minutes. Taemin looked at his crew. We need to slow them down. Make them stay and fight until reinforcements arrive. How do we do that, sir? Asked a young crew member. We are one ship. They have at least 15. Taemin smiled. We make them angry. We make them want to catch us. Sujin, target their lead ship. One shot. Just enough to damage their sensors. Then we run. But not too fast. The Resilience fired a single, precise shot that struck the pirate commander's ship. Alarms blared on the pirate vessel as its sensor array exploded. They are pursuing us, Sujin reported. All 15 ships. Good. Lead them through the asteroid field. Make it difficult. For 8 minutes, the Resilience danced through the asteroids, always just out of reach. The pirates followed, their formation breaking apart as each ship tried to be the one to catch the annoying human vessel. They were so focused on the chase that they did not notice their tactical error until it was too late. The Council fleet arrived in perfect position, surrounding the scattered pirate ships. The pirates tried to regroup, but their formation was broken and they were caught in the open. Within minutes, 3 pirate vessels were captured and the rest destroyed. The Council chamber was silent when the battle reports came in. General Karvoth stared at the tactical display. His expression unreadable. Thelvaris chimed softly. The humans succeeded where our fleets failed. How? Dae-ho, invited to speak this time, stood before the Council. We did not try to overpower them. We understood their psychology. Pirates are greedy and arrogant. We offered them a target that looked weak but was actually bait. They chased us because they thought we were afraid. By the time they realized the trap, it was too late. Luck, General Karvoth said flatly. Nothing more. Perhaps, Dae-ho replied. But humans have a saying. The more we practice, the luckier we get. The crystal being chimed in a way that almost sounded like respect. The Council acknowledges the human contribution. You may continue your observer status. It was not much, but it was something. As the humans left the chamber, Thelvaris approached them privately. That was not luck, the Luminarch said. That was intelligence and strategy. Your species understands warfare in ways we do not. Hana nodded. We have had a lot of practice, unfortunately. The Council does not see this yet, Thelvaris continued. But I do. You are more than your size suggests. Much more. That night, Taemin and his crew were allowed into better quarters, though still not the best ones. In the station's observation deck, Ji-woo looked out at the stars. They still think it was luck, she said. Dae-ho stood beside her. Let them think that. Every time they underestimate us, they give us an advantage. We are learning their weaknesses. When the time comes, they will see what humans can really do. In the darkness of space, the Resilience floated silently, its crew ready for whatever came next. And on Earth, billions of humans waited, unaware that their representatives were slowly, carefully, proving that humanity deserved its place among the stars. General Karvoth stood before the Council, his massive frame radiating anger. His gray skin seemed darker than usual, and his red eyes glowed with barely contained fury. The Council celebrates the humans for one lucky victory, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. But luck is not strength. Luck is not power. The Velcrosian Empire has protected this council for centuries with our might, and we will not be replaced by these tiny creatures. Dae-ho sat in the observer section, his face calm. He had expected this. The pirate victory had wounded Velcrosian pride, and wounded pride was dangerous. I propose a trial of worth, Karvoth continued. Let the humans prove they deserve recognition. Let them face real challenges. Not just pirates hiding in asteroids. Combat, survival, and problem-solving under pressure. If they fail, they leave the Council forever. If they succeed. He paused, as if the words tasted bitter. Then perhaps they have earned their place. The crystal being chimed. This is highly irregular. Trials of worth have not been used in generations. Because no species has claimed strength without proving it, Karvoth shot back. The humans talk of their warfare and their tactics. Let them show us in action. Murmurs spread through the council. Many species seemed interested in the spectacle. The betting pools would be enormous. Others looked uncomfortable with the idea. But none spoke against it. Thel Varus, the Luminarch counselor, pulsed with uncertain colors. What say the humans? Deho stood slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. We accept the challenge. Deho, wait. Hana whispered urgently beside him. We should discuss this. But Deho knew that hesitation would look like fear. We accept, he repeated firmly. Name your trials, General Karvoth. The Velcrosian smiled, showing teeth that looked sharp enough to tear metal. 3 trials. First, combat in the arena. Second, survival on a hostile world. Third, a crisis simulation. My finest warriors against your best. We begin in 3 days. Back in their quarters, Jiwoo paced nervously. This is insane. They are twice our size and built for war. We cannot win a fight against them. We do not need to win the way they expect, Deho said. He activated his communication device. Get me Commander Taemin, and find Hyunwoo. I need him here immediately. Hyunwoo arrived within the hour. He was shorter than Deho, lean and muscular, with scars on his hands and a quiet way of moving that suggested controlled violence. He had been Special Forces on Earth, trained in a dozen different fighting styles. You want me to fight a Velcrosian? He asked after hearing the situation. I want you to beat one, Deho replied. Hyunwoo looked at the videos of Velcrosian warriors. They were massive, strong, and trained in brutal combat. They have reach, weight, and armor like skin. In a straight fight, I lose. Then do not fight straight, Hana said. She was reviewing biological data on her tablet. Look at their physiology. They are strong, yes, but that muscle mass needs oxygen. Their cardiovascular system is powerful, but inefficient. They tire quickly. And their center of gravity is high because of their size. Hyunwoo studied the information carefully. A slow smile crossed his face. I can work with this. For 3 days, Hyunwoo trained. He did not practice hitting harder or getting stronger. Instead, he practiced moving, dodging, and waiting. Eunji, the medical officer, monitored his condition and explained Velcrosian anatomy in detail. The combat trial took place in a massive arena that could seat thousands of spectators. Aliens from across the station crowded in to watch. The betting strongly favored the Velcrosian champion, a warrior named Drak who had never lost a fight. Drak entered the arena to cheers and roars. He stood 4 meters tall, his body covered in scars that told stories of countless battles. He carried a massive blade that looked like it weighed more than Hyunwoo's entire body. Hyunwoo walked in quietly, wearing light armor and carrying 2 short fighting sticks. He looked tiny compared to his opponent. The crowd laughed. This is your champion? Drak's voice boomed. This is an insult. Then it should be an easy victory, Hyunwoo replied calmly. The signal sounded, and Drak charged forward with surprising speed for his size. His blade swung in a wide arc that could have cut a tree in half. Hyunwoo was not there. He had moved to the side, watching and learning. Drak swung again and again, each strike powerful enough to kill. Each strike hit nothing but air. Hyunwoo kept moving, never staying in one place, his eyes tracking every movement. Stand still and fight, Drak roared in frustration. No, Hyunwoo said simply. The fight continued for 5 minutes. Then 10. Drak's swings became slower. His breathing grew heavier. Sweat covered his gray skin. The crowd's cheers turned to confused murmurs. Hyunwoo had not thrown a single strike. He just moved, conserving his energy, while his opponent burned through his reserves. At 12 minutes, Drak's legs trembled. At 14 minutes, his guard dropped. At 15 minutes, Hyunwoo finally attacked. He moved in close, too close for the long blade to be effective. His fighting sticks struck precise points on Drak's knees, disrupting balance. When the giant warrior stumbled, Hyunwoo used Drak's own momentum against him, redirecting his weight and sending him crashing to the ground. Drak tried to rise, but his exhausted muscles would not obey. Hyunwoo stood over him, stick ready, but did not strike the final blow. "Yield," Hyunwoo said quietly. Drak's eyes showed confusion, then something like respect. "I yield." The arena fell silent. Nobody could believe what they had witnessed. The second trial was survival on a hostile planet. Teams from 5 species were dropped in different locations, with minimal supplies. They had 3 days to reach a central extraction point. The Velcrosian team used their strength to fight through obstacles. The Krethan team used their numbers and coordination. The other teams relied on their natural advantages. The human team, led by Hyunwoo and including Hana and 2 crew members from the Resilience, used persistence. When others rested, they walked. When others stopped to hunt, they ate preserved rations. When others built shelters for the night, they kept moving under the stars. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. Hana explained to the observation drones that followed each team. On Earth, we hunted animals by following them until they collapsed from exhaustion. We can walk farther, longer, than almost any other species. We do not stop. The human team reached the extraction point first, 12 hours ahead of the second-place team. They were tired and dirty, but they were there. The third trial was a simulated crisis aboard a damaged space station. Each team had to solve multiple problems simultaneously, with limited resources and time pressure. The other teams tried to fix everything at once, spreading their efforts thin. The human team, coordinated by Ji-woo, prioritized ruthlessly. They identified the 3 critical systems that would cause total failure and ignored everything else. When a Krethan team member collapsed from toxic exposure during the simulation, Yoonji broke protocol to save them, using her medical knowledge to neutralize the poison. It cost the human team precious time, but it saved a life. The simulation ended. The human team had solved fewer total problems than the Velcrosians, but they had prevented the catastrophic failures. More importantly, they had shown compassion, even during competition. The council gathered to review the results. General Karvoth stood stiffly, his pride clearly wounded, but unable to deny what everyone had witnessed. "The humans have passed the trial of worth," the crystal being announced. "They have demonstrated capability, endurance, and honor." Karvoth said nothing, but his eyes promised that this was not over. That evening, Thelvaris visited the human quarters. "You have made a powerful enemy," the Luminarch said. "Karvoth does not forget humiliation." "We did not seek to humiliate him," Daeho replied. "We only sought to prove we deserve to be here." "And you have proven it, to those willing to see," Thelvaris said. "But be careful. Some species will feel threatened by your success. The galaxy is not ready for what humans represent." After Thelvaris left, Hyunwoo sat cleaning his fighting sticks. Daeho looked out at the stars. Change. The possibility that strength is not just about size or power, that terrifies those who have built their entire identity on being the biggest and the strongest. "So what do we do?" Yoonji asked. "We continue to prove ourselves," Daeho said. "One challenge at a time, until they cannot deny us anymore." But in the shadows of the station, plans were already being made. Plans that would test humanity far more than any trial. The explosion happened during the morning shift change. A power conduit near the human quarters overloaded, sending flames and smoke through 3 levels of the station. No one was killed, but 2 human crew members were injured badly enough to need medical care. "Accident," the station maintenance chief said. A Krethan engineer with mandibles that clicked nervously. "Old systems. Happens sometimes." Daeho examined the burn patterns himself. He had seen enough sabotage during Earth's wars to recognize it. This was no accident. Are you accusing the station of incompetence? General Karvoth demanded, when Deho raised concerns at the next council session. Your species brings their paranoia to our peaceful station, but 3 days later, a cargo shuttle carrying human supplies crashed during docking. The pilot, a reliable officer named Bora, swore that her controls had stopped responding. The investigation found nothing wrong with the shuttle's systems. Then Taemin reported that someone had tried to access the Resilience's computer core. The attempt had been clumsy, easily detected, but concerning. Someone wants us gone, Hana said, reviewing the incidents in their quarters. Or worse. We need proof, Deho replied. Accusations without evidence will only make us look weak. Young Su had arrived on the station 2 weeks earlier, officially as a cultural attaché. In reality, he was Earth's intelligence operative, trained in gathering information and blending into shadows. He was thin, quiet, and had a face that people forgot easily, perfect for his work. He spent his days exploring the station, listening to conversations in the common areas, watching patterns of movement. He noticed Crethan security officers meeting with Velcrosian military personnel in places they thought were private. He saw encrypted communications being sent to ships that were not officially docked at the station. One night, following a Velcrosian officer, Young Su discovered a meeting in an abandoned cargo bay. He hid behind cargo containers, his recording device active, and listened. The humans are becoming a problem, a voice he recognized as belonging to a Crethan council member said. They won the trials. They have supporters now. If we do not act soon, they will gain real influence. Then we remove them permanently, another voice replied. Velcrosian, but not Karvoth. Someone else. Make it look like they brought weapons onto the station. Claim they were planning an attack on the council chambers. We can justify military action against their home world. The evidence must be perfect. A third voice added. This one was harder to identify. We plant explosives in their quarters, but with human technology signatures. When security finds them, the council will have no choice but to expel them and authorize defensive measures. And if some humans die in the process? The Crethan asked. Even better. Makes them look more dangerous. Young Su's blood ran cold. This was not just about removing humanity from the council. This was about justifying an attack on Earth itself. He recorded everything and slipped away before the conspirators could notice him. Back in the human quarters, the team gathered to review the recording. Deho's face was grave. If we go public with this, it could start a war within the council, Jiwoo said. Different factions fighting each other. Thousands could die. But if we do nothing, they will frame us and Earth becomes a target, Hana countered. Deho thought for a long moment. We do not go public. Not yet. First, we need to know how deep this goes. Young Su, keep investigating. Find out every species involved and who their leaders are. Hana, analyze the communication patterns. Find me evidence of coordination. Jiwoo, reach out to your contacts. Find out who we can trust. Over the next week, the picture became clearer. The conspiracy involved elements from 4 different species, including some high-ranking council members. But it was not universal. Many individuals within those species knew nothing about the plot. The conspiracy was limited to specific factions that felt threatened by human success. They are not working as one unit, Hana observed. They each have their own reasons for wanting us gone. The Crethans fear economic competition. The Velcrosians fear military relevance. The others have their own concerns. The conspiracy is actually fragile. It only holds together because they all want the same thing. Deho smiled. Then we break it apart. We do not fight them as a group. We isolate them, one by one. Thelvaris proved to be a valuable ally. When Jiwoo approached the Luminarch counselor privately and shared some of the evidence, Thelvaris was horrified. This is treason. The crystalline being chimed in distress. Using council security to frame another species? This violates everything we stand for. We need help, Jiwoo said. We cannot expose this publicly, without proof that goes all the way to the top. But if you could help us gather more evidence, Thelvaris agreed. With a respected council member helping them, the humans gained access to secure communications and restricted areas. Young Su and his team worked tirelessly, building an airtight case. The night before the conspirators planned to plant the explosives, Dae-ho made his move. But he did not go to the council. Instead, he went to the leaders of each species involved, one at a time, in private. To the Crethan Council leader, he showed evidence that Velcrosian agents planned to blame the Crethans for the attack if anything went wrong. They are using you, Dae-ho said quietly. To the Velcrosian High Command, he showed evidence that their subordinates were planning the operation without official approval, risking war that the Velcrosian military was not prepared to fight. These officers are acting on their own, Dae-ho explained. They will drag your empire into a conflict that could destroy you. To each leader, he offered a way out. Handle your own traitors quietly, and the humans would not make this public. The council would never know how close it came to civil war. One by one, the leaders agreed. They had no choice. The evidence was overwhelming, and the consequences of exposure were too great. General Karvoth was arrested by his own people, accused of conspiracy and treason. The official story was that he had been embezzling military funds. The Crethan officials involved quietly retired. Other conspirators simply disappeared, reassigned to distant posts where they could cause no more trouble. The humans never mentioned what they knew. Publicly, nothing had happened. But privately, everything had changed. Leaders from multiple species now owed humanity a debt. More importantly, they had learned that humans understood intelligence, leverage, and discretion. They had learned that humanity could destroy its enemies but chose mercy when possible. Thelvaris visited Dae-ho in his quarters after it was all over. You could have exposed them all. You could have destroyed their reputations and their political power. Why did you show mercy? Dae-ho looked out at the stars. Because we are not here to make enemies. We are here to find our place in the galaxy. If we had destroyed them publicly, we would have made enemies of entire species. But by handling it quietly, we made them understand that we are not a threat. We are just trying to survive. Like everyone else. You are more dangerous than they thought, Thelvaris said. Not because you are violent, but because you are wise. On Earth, we have a saying, Dae-ho replied. The best victory is the one where your enemy becomes your friend. Or at least stops being your enemy. That night, Jiwoo reported good news. 3 more council members had expressed interest in supporting human initiatives. 2 species wanted to establish trade talks. The tide was turning. Hana smiled. They finally see us. They see that we are not going away, Dae-ho corrected. That is different from respect. But it is a start. Hyunwoo, who had been silent, finally spoke. What happens when the next crisis comes? We were lucky this time. Next time might be worse. Dae-ho nodded slowly. Then we will face it. Together. Because that is what humans do. We survive. We adapt. And we never give up. In the darkness of space, far from the council station, unknown to anyone, ancient systems were awakening. Old machines that had slept for millennia were beginning to move. And soon, the entire galaxy would face a threat that would make conspiracies and political games seem meaningless. But for now, the humans had won their place. They had proven they were more than their size. They had shown that wisdom, patience, and mercy were forms of strength that no amount of physical power could match. And the galaxy was starting to pay attention. 6 months had passed since the conspiracy collapsed. The council station had settled into a new rhythm, and humans were no longer the joke they had once been. Daeho now had real influence in council discussions. Trade agreements were being negotiated. The future looked promising. Then the warnings came. The first distress call arrived from a research station on the edge of known space. The message was broken, filled with static, but the words that came through were clear enough to chill everyone who heard them. Unknown ships, attacking. Nothing stops them. They are machines. Ancient. Please send. The transmission ended abruptly. The council sent a patrol fleet to investigate. 20 ships, heavily armed, with crews from the finest military species in the galaxy. They arrived at the research station to find nothing but debris. The station had been torn apart, its hull showing burn marks from weapons that matched no known technology. Then the patrol fleet came under attack. The enemy appeared on scanners like ghosts, their ships dark and angular, covered in armor that seemed to absorb sensor beams. They moved with precision that no living pilot could match, coordinating attacks with perfect timing. Within minutes, half the patrol fleet was destroyed. Only 3 ships escaped to bring back footage of the attackers. The council watched in horror as the recordings showed machines, not living beings, piloting ships that were clearly ancient, but somehow still more advanced than anything the modern galaxy could produce. The Devourers, an old Luminarch scholar, explained to the council. We thought they were myths. Stories used to scare children. But the records say they were real, created by a civilization that died millions of years ago. They were programmed to destroy any sufficiently advanced species, to prevent anyone from becoming as powerful as their creators. Then, they went dormant. We thought they were gone forever. How many are there? Someone asked. The old records suggest thousands of ships. Maybe more. Sen. Panic spread through the council. The crystal being tried to maintain order, but even its chiming voice showed strain. We will send our combined fleets. We will destroy these machines. They sent everything they had. Velcrosian battleships, Crethan swarm fighters, Luminarch cruisers with their advanced energy weapons. The fleet that assembled was the largest in recorded history. It was not enough. The Devourers met them in open space and methodically tore the fleet apart. For every Devourer ship destroyed, they eliminated 5 council vessels. They had no fear, no hesitation, no need for rest. They were machines. And they were winning. The survivors returned with casualty reports that made even hardened warriors weep. The Devourers were advancing toward populated systems. Projections showed they would reach the core council worlds within months. The council chamber was filled with despair. Representatives from proud warrior species sat with their heads in their hands. The strongest military powers in the galaxy had thrown everything at the enemy and failed. Daeho listened to the discussions for 3 days. He watched as the council argued about evacuation, about retreat, about surrender. Finally, he stood. There is another way, he said quietly. General Karvoth's replacement, a younger Velcrosian officer, laughed bitterly. Another way? We have tried everything. Our weapons barely scratch their armor. Our tactics are useless against their perfect coordination. What could possibly work now? Stop trying to beat them with superior force, Daeho said. You cannot win that way. They are machines. They have had millions of years to perfect their programming, but they are still machines. They think in patterns. They follow rules. And rules can be exploited. You are suggesting guerrilla warfare against an army of ancient war machines? Thelvaris asked. I am suggesting we fight to survive, not to win glorious victories. Daeho replied. We use every advantage we have. We make them waste resources. We hit them where they are weak and avoid them where they are strong. We make every meter of space they advance cost them dearly. We fight like humans fight when we have no other choice. Admiral Min Su arrived at the council station the next day with the human fleet. It was not impressive by galactic standards. 30 ships, small by alien measures. with weapons that were considered outdated. But the crews were ready to fight. Min Su was a tall woman with steel in her eyes. She had commanded fleets during Earth's territorial wars before humanity reached the stars. She understood what Dae Ho was proposing because she had lived it. On Earth, she told the Council, we have fought wars that consumed entire continents. We have seen billions die. We have faced extinction and survived. Not because we were the strongest or the smartest, but because we refused to surrender. We call it total war. Every resource, every person, everything, committed to survival. The Council members looked uncomfortable. Total war was a concept they had never truly embraced. Wars in the galaxy were about territory and resources. But they had limits. Rules. You did not sacrifice everything. You did not fight to the last person. We cannot ask our people to do that, a council member said. The cost would be too high. The cost of losing is extinction. Dae Ho replied. The Devourers do not negotiate. They do not take prisoners. They do not stop. So neither can we. So Hyun, who had come with the human fleet as a civilian representative, stood beside Dae Ho. We are not asking you to become like us. We are offering to lead the fight. Let us show you what humans can do when survival is the only option. The debate lasted for hours, but in the end, desperation won. The Council agreed to try the human strategy. Admiral Min Su was given command of the defensive operations, with Council fleets under her authority. The first thing she did was change everything. Stop sending large fleets to meet them head-on, she ordered. That is what they expect. Instead, we use small groups. Fast attacks. Hit their supply lines and sensor arrays, then disappear. Make them chase us into traps. Use mines, ambushes, and anything else that makes them waste resources. This is not honorable warfare, a Velcrosian captain protested. This is survival. Min Su replied coldly. Honor is for those who can afford it. We cannot. The human ships led the first attacks. They were smaller and faster than the Devourer vessels, able to maneuver through asteroid fields and nebulas where the ancient machines struggled. They struck sensors and communication arrays, then fled before the Devourers could respond effectively. Other species watched and learned. The tactics were strange, cowardly even by traditional standards, but they worked. The Devourer advance slowed, but the machines adapted. They changed their formations, improved their defenses. The war became a grinding struggle of attrition. Both sides lost ships daily. 2 BC. Then came the moment that changed everything. A Devourer fleet was advancing on a populated system. Admiral Min Su knew that conventional tactics would not stop them in time. The enemy had too many ships, too much firepower, so she made a decision that horrified the Council. I am taking the Resilience and 5 volunteer ships, she announced. We will ram the Devourer command vessel. Our sacrifice will disable their coordination long enough for the main fleet to destroy the rest. That is suicide, Thelvaris protested. Yes, Min Su agreed calmly. But it will save millions of lives. That is the trade we are willing to make. Ever. Min Su. Alibi. Ever. Ever. The Council tried to find another way, but there was none. Time was running out. Commander Tae Min volunteered his ship immediately. So did 4 other human captains. They knew they would not survive. They said goodbye to their families through long-distance communications. They wrote final messages. Then they flew toward the enemy fleet. The attack was brutal and efficient. The 6 human ships accelerated to ramming speed, their crews steering manually because the computers had safeguards against suicide runs. The Devourer command ship tried to stop them, destroying 4 of the attacking vessels. But Tae Min's Resilience and 1 other ship made it through. The impact destroyed both ships completely. But it also crippled the Devourer command vessel, disrupting its control over the fleet. The Council forces destroyed the confused enemy ships within the hour. When news of the sacrifice reached the Council, the chamber fell silent. Every species understood what they had witnessed. Humans had not just talked about fighting to the last. They had proven they meant it. More volunteers came forward. Not just humans, but aliens inspired by the example. The defensive operations became fiercer. Ships from every species adopted human tactics, accepting casualties that would have been unthinkable before. The war lasted 3 months. Every day brought new losses. Entire planets were evacuated. Billions became refugees. But the Devourer advance was stopped, then pushed back. The final battle took place in a system with a dying star. The last major Devourer fleet had gathered there, preparing for one final push. The Allied forces surrounded them, and Admiral Min-Su coordinated the attack personally. "All ships," she broadcast to the fleet. "This is where we end it. For Earth. For Velcross. For every world that has ever known life. Today we show these machines what it means to fight against beings who have something worth dying for." The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Devourer fleet was destroyed. The ancient threat was eliminated. But the cost was terrible. A third of the Allied fleet was gone, including Admiral Min-Su's flagship. The Council met in an emergency session the day after the victory. The chamber was filled with representatives who looked exhausted, grieving, but alive. The crystal being chimed solemnly. "We have survived because of humanity. Their tactics, their sacrifice, their refusal to surrender. We owe them a debt that can never be repaid." The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted full Council membership with all rights and privileges. Trade agreements were signed. Defense pacts were established. But it was So-Hyun's speech that people remembered most. She stood before the Council, a small figure in a chamber built for giants, and spoke about Earth, about human art, music, and literature, about the cultures that had created beauty in the midst of hardship, about the capacity for both war and peace that existed in every human heart. "We are not just warriors," she said. "We are poets, artists, dreamers. We are scientists and philosophers. We are parents who tell stories to our children, and lovers who write songs. Yes, we can fight with terrible determination. But that is not all we are. Do not remember us only for our ability to wage war. Remember us for what we fight to protect: life, love, hope, and the future." The Council listened, and for the first time, they truly saw humans as complete beings. Not just small soldiers, but a species with depth and richness. Daeho stood in the observation deck that night, looking at the stars. Hana, Jiwoo, and Hyunwoo stood with him. They were tired. They had lost friends. Earth had lost thousands of brave people. "Was it worth it?" Jiwoo asked quietly. Daeho thought about the question. "We proved we belong here. We earned respect through sacrifice. But the real question is what we do now. We have shown the galaxy our strength. Now, we must show them our wisdom." Far below, Earth continued its orbit, a small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy. Its people had no idea that their representatives had changed the course of galactic history. But they would learn, and they would be proud. The galaxy had mocked the small species. They had learned, through fire and blood, that size meant nothing. Humanity had revealed its power, not through arrogance or conquest, but through determination, sacrifice, and an unbreakable will to survive. And the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, welcoming Earth's children to their place among the cosmos.